Hello everyone and welcome to today's Stocks and Crypto YouTube Charts video. I am No FOMO Charts. Today's Monday, September 8, 2025. It's just after 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome everybody. This is an investing and trading YouTube Charts channel. Let's start off with crypto, Bitcoin. The setup that I'm seeing, and this is a continuation from last week, in the yellow, we have a potential upside down head and shoulders price pattern. The neckline is about $112,500 Bitcoin. The measured move, if this is going to actually complete, could be about 3.5% to 4%. If we take 4% from the breakout, the first target's 116,749. Second target would be approximately 121,200. So I'm going to mark those two levels. And these setups, it could take 1 month to 2 months to actually play out. The fact that from top all-time high to the bottom, that took 19 days. Let's say 21 days is 3 weeks. So it could take another month to actually go to the upside, at least a couple of weeks. So that is what I'm seeing on the daily chart. It's not 100%. These chart patterns, they work only about 60% of the time average based upon research. So all I'm saying is it's not the greatest setup because April 2025, we had such a sell-off and then the whole world changed in terms of chart setups. Now, this setup that I'm seeing right now, it's more reminiscent of June 2025. I'm using an OKX, there's limited data, but on a weekly chart, we had a nice bullish piercing candle last week, and we're getting some continuation. In terms of the 4-hour chart setup that I was saying last time, remember, if it can hold, we can see some volatility. So we're seeing this setup that I was saying about a week and 2 weeks ago. We're still in the downtrend until we get a trend reversal, which means we have to double bottom, which I called that last time. And then we need to have this uptrend. Yes, altcoins got shaken out last week. It's a little bit strange. Let's go to Ethereum. Here's the Ethereum Bitstamp chart. Ethereum is still in the uptrend. We can draw the trend lines. We're still making higher highs and higher lows in the price. Except Ethereum is just a little bit too over excited in my perspective because of all the news that happened. There is some momentum building. It's tightening up on the RSI. On the weekly chart, there is no extreme bearish sell-off. It's probably just going to consolidate to the side until it has a breakout. I would be looking more for something like a Bollinger Band squeeze. It's tightening up. It could go plus or minus 5 to 6%. But I do like the fact that it's holding and Bitcoin is holding momentum. Resistance target 4,800, support target 4,000. Ripple had a nice little setup. Again, I'll use Bitstamp chart. Ripple just had a beautiful, very, very small double bottom off of 280, but I like it had the support level in this yellow zone. So I think I was saying last week, if we can hold this descending triangle, this might have been a different setup from Doge coin. It's a very similar psychology. We hit the support zone. Bitcoin's turning around. We had a nice breakout. Only took about 4 days. So that's what I'm saying. Some of my bullish setups, it could be 1 week, 2 week, sometimes even 1 month too early. So it gives me plenty of time to position. And for me, just from experience, is the beginning entry parts of my trades and my system feels painful and it looks wrong, but it pays off later. So for example, if I was buying Ripple and the first 2-3 days it's going down on me, that's what I'm saying. The larger term indicators are telling me it's going to reverse, but the exact minute or the exact day it's going to happen is a different story. I have to really micromanage intraday timeframes, which I don't like doing that. So for me, I just get in there, and as long as it's not completely crashing through the floor of support, there's a chance it can make a higher low as long as I'm patient. So resistance, next target, if this actually fully breaks out, it could go 20% to the upside. But again, it could take 1 or 2 months for that. But that's the actual position side of swing trading. Nice little weekly morning star. If we could hold that, would be great. Support level is 275. Solana, remember, about 2 weeks ago, I called this low. And look where we are now, right? I was trying to only target 191, but this thing's going all the way up to 200, 215. So Solana is still a hot crypto, still in play. This Golden Cross is still alive, everybody. Golden Cross is still alive. So crypto traders know we buy the dips. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them work. It's hitting this upper resistance on the weekly. If Solana ever jumps up to the 225 range, maybe then we'll get a little bit of a pullback on the setup of the charts. But those 4-hour entries sometimes can be some of the greatest entries if I could just hold it and get in there. So in terms of resistance, pull up some pivot points. Next resistance probably about 225, 230. And the big support to downside is 200. If we hold above 200, we're probably okay. All right, let's rapid lightning round, rapid fire the rest of these. Just the price action only. Then we'll move on to stocks. So Tron has been in an uptrend. We had this random big sell-off, maybe related to the double top. But if we 618 from the bottom of April to the top of August, tap that 382, 236 level and consolidating. Watching out below 33 cents, between 33 and 31. This is not a real setup for me. I'm not going to buy this at all, but interesting to see that volatility. Now, Dogecoin, remember what I was saying last time? Dogecoin hanging above this 200 EMA, and look what happens if I'm just patient myself. If I was patient, had to wait 21 days. So my scanner, my style, my screener can be 2 weeks too early. And then all it takes is just a couple days, 1 week of patience, or 2 weeks to a month to reap the rewards. Patience is the key for swing trading. Patience and risk management. So we had that, I call it a symmetrical triangle breakout. This could go 20-25% over time. My big target is 28 cents. And we'll see if that breaks. Now, if we happen to just randomly pull back, it's okay. We're still in this golden cross right here, squeezed out of there. See if we can maintain momentum to the upside. Cardano is very similar to Bitcoin. We had a double bottom out to 50 EMA. Link has good news about Grayscale trying to make that ETF. I actually traded Link multiple times. AVAX has a golden cross. I like this. AVAX golden cross. Tightening on the daily. Almost looking like an ascending triangle. If this is true, it could go 20% from the breakout to about $32. The risk there would be about a 10% risk to a 20% gain risk. XLM, this hit my scanner yesterday. I think I bought some XLM here on the weekly chart. On the daily chart, we had that W. So I like this setup. And if we put this particular trend line, the next target up could be about 7% or about 40 cents. This is what I'm talking about, is when I start to see large MACDs, the price has been down for a while, a couple months, large MACD histogram building. If I want to get some extra confirmation, I like to pull up the stochastic RSI. I call it Stoch RSI. And then sometimes when these two indicators align, this is not perfect 100%, but if I put a vertical line to show you, it's all B right there, or somewhere right in the middle, the first hit here on this gray, let me put it in a different color, put it in sky blue. We can see it's the first low here, and we had the MACD histogram building, and then once this is low, because the RSI sometimes can be tricky. If it's in the middle range, 40, 50, 55, people are not really going to visually think that you need to buy that. But the intraday of the stochastic RSI, it's like the RSI for my RSI. It's the RSI indicator of my purple RSI. So then it tells me maybe intraday might be a little oversold. And if I'm very patient, then I wait for my double bottom and then buy. Now, if I were to look at this chart right now, it's not totally over, but I don't want to FOMO too bad, too fast, and buy a top and then lose 2%, or if somebody's leveraged, lose 5 or 10 or 20%. It's ridiculous, unnecessary. Just being patient, waiting for the next low entry, right? If I just randomly buy right now, I need about at least maybe 4 cents. So I need 11% stop loss, which is very big. So then I would need to reduce my position size. That's just the psychology that goes through my mind. Tron coin still in the downtrend, but maybe they could get a little bull divergence. Suspicious looking upside down head and shoulders on the stochastic RSI on the daily. Shiba Inu had that nice MACD histogram building. This is one of my setups right here, this education. MACD histogram is building. The support line is holding, and I literally drew it for myself. It's right above the 786. This can be interpreted as a larger inside upside down head and shoulders or a symmetrical triangle. Whatever works for me, whatever works for us as traders. Repeatedly. And if this breaks out, it could go 40%. I'll do conservative 30%. It could go 1653, which just happens to be the 618. This is possible. This is possible. I might need to buy more Shiba Inu. But the risk down here to the downside, if everything fails, is another 10% risk. So I'm not all inning Shiba Inu. No, thank you. Hbar, why do I like Hbar? Is because we have the golden cross and this is hitting this red 200 EMA. This is not for sure, but if you look at something like Russell 2000 ETF, we had a similar setup called bullish pin bar setup. Golden cross, EMAs are fanning out. Price happens to dip down into the 200 EMA. And one potential scenario like Russell 2000 is we can't get this rally. So if this is going to happen, you need the right chart. I like this. Okay, if I can hold this patience for about 1 to 2 months and we're not crashing below 2125, maybe this will be the one in terms of clean gains. Target like a 15% to the upside, have about an 8% stop loss. Perfect. Okay, let's move on now. Hit the halfway mark. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and click like and subscribe and turn the notification bell on for the next video. Let's go to stocks. We'll end here. Just do some indexes. SPY, still in the uptrend. Uptrending here. Golden upcross still intact. Nothing visually wrong. We have some PPI and CPI inflation data. Everyone's looking forward to the FOMC meeting towards the end of this month. So we're looking fine here, still in the uptrend. 20 EMA in the blue here is still holding. The weekly chart does not have any ominous bearish large pattern like it did in the beginning of 2025. Not happening yet. The daily chart, nothing extreme. It's business as usual, uptrending, while retail traders and the algorithms try to buy the dips. The only thing I will say is that in terms of the volatility, it's kind of not going up as much as it used to, because I think just the news and the tariffs that are coming out right now is having a little blunting effect on the market. And capital could be rotating back into crypto because the bullish setups are arriving. Let's go to Nasdaq. Yes, I'm hearing on the news repeatedly every day that we're hitting record highs, but it could be actually better performance. A lot of the stocks in the Magnificent Seven actually dipped down for the past 1 or 2 weeks. However, for Nasdaq, we're still in this uptrend. The golden cross is still intact. We have the EMAs fanning out into the uptrend. We avoided the head and shoulders, which is expected at this point. We're dipping off the lows, bouncing off the lows, which is totally fine. We're starting to consolidate sideways, but I like the fact that Nasdaq is trying to break out. I do. And the volatility there could be about 3%. If it pierces up to 596 rally, that would be very nice. On the weekly chart, no extreme signs except for the stochastic RSI, and MACD is losing a little bit of momentum on the weekly chart. Dow Jones, very similar, happened to break out above the previous resistance high of December 24 of about 452. Similar analysis is we have the golden upcross, uptrending, higher highs and higher lows in the price, breaking out, back tested this resistance of 451.79, which is good. Stochastic RSI, meaning intraday momentum, is starting to cool down. The weekly chart not showing any extreme here. We're okay for now. It's just a matter of, will it hold the support, and will we continue to quietly and merrily uptrend? So individual companies need to not have an emergency this month. IWM Russell 2000, that bullish pin bar setup works so well. I mean, it's actually perfect hammer candle. Golden cross hammer candle, uptrending, the lows are holding, and now we're in the sky for now. Is this the top of Russell 2000? Charts probably say no. We need to see something larger to the effect of a Bollinger Band pierce or a gap up or a double top to have some problems. So it's just kind of in the middle of where we're at right now in the uptrend. And the next target probably going to be about 243. Let's take a quick look at gold. Just had a phenomenal run here on gold. Why did it break out? We had this clear ascending triangle, and we had some tariff exemption news in the past couple of days. That was actually measurable, 7%. We hit the 7% target. Next target would be 14%, 356. Now, even though this isn't a massive uptrend and the stock market S&P 500 is still also in an uptrend, people still want to feel safe in gold. It has value. Same thing with silver. These lows on the EMAs are holding. Beautiful. However, if I pop up a linear regression, probably the resistance spot will be most likely $39 to $40 in this range up here. Let's look at just very quickly a little bit of Magnificent Seven stocks. Haven't looked at these on stream for a while on the video. Apple, I just like it has golden cross. Finally, Apple, the iPhone 17s are releasing. Apparently, I think it's in a month or so. But finally broke out of that range and starting to uptrend. Beautiful. Apple. Microsoft pulling back after just massive amounts of news. Their two top line numbers were good, but in terms of the momentum is a little bit too extreme. Had some bearish momentum, but it's not over for Microsoft. It looks like maybe the support level 44 could be a deeper area before it bounces. Nvidia as well had a head and shoulders, and some of the parts of the earnings were not that great, so we're starting to downtrend just a little bit. It's not game over for Nvidia. Google had a nice news about the government allowing them to keep Google Chrome browser, and that's starting to have a gap up. This does not mean automatic sell. It just means that hold and understand that it could pull back. There's a big resistance, or it's going to be big support above 226 right now. Holding. Amazon, still in the golden up cross and looking nice here. High, low, high, low, high, low. And breaking out this 2025 summer high, trying to break above 237, trying to target probably the 242 range before it pulls back between 227. Meta as well, correlating with some other tech stocks that from a weekly perspective, there is some bearish divergence. Let me just rewind really fast. There is some bearish divergence that's happening. It's not extreme on half the stocks, but something like Meta, it's showing up a little bit more. And whenever stock prices are a little bit too over high, too valued in the sky, like it was in February 2025, then we might see a little bit of pullback action, which is happening right now. Some people just taking a little bit of their profit, it looks like. There's nothing wrong with that. But on the daily chart, the support 735 needs to hold. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do Tesla. I haven't looked at Tesla chart on the video for a long time. So Tesla actually recovered off its April 2025 lows. It's wonderful, holding above the 220 zone and uptrending. Golden cross once again. It's a little bit similar to Apple in terms of the chart only, not the company, but the chart. Holding this almost symmetrical triangle type of formation. Now, if I just happen to randomly buy Tesla stock today, it would be about a 8% risk trying to target 14, 16%. I'll just say 16%. So in terms of the price action, it's recovering. It's just not extreme rally, obviously in the chart. So, but when it starts coiling like this, it's still good because we had this kind of upside down head and shoulder symmetrical triangle breakout, and it's attempting to uptrend, getting stuck right below 353 price. However, the support to the downside that needs to hold is 328, stuck in that range for now. On the weekly chart, it's not extreme or anything in terms of being overbought, risk of a crash unless there's bad news for any specific company. So looking like normal charts right now for stocks. Actually, I will do one more. This is kind of one of the hottest stocks. It used to be very volatile. Do not FOMO on this one, but this open stock, Open Door Technologies, the finance real estate company. So the only reason I'm talking about this is had some pretty strong bearish momentum here of 14%, 10% to the downside, excuse me. And the way I like to do charting on some of these runners, I like to call them, on these penny stock runners or meme coins, meme stocks, is put an anchored VWAP from the bottom spot where it used to break out. Pull up an EMA. We did bounce off the 20 EMA. We don't really need the VWAP now. But understand, why did it break out and crash back down? Because it's just too far out of the volatility ranges. So let me explain. This purple one is the anchored VWAP. That's the third linear regression to the upside. The Bollinger Band in the white was violated to the upside, and we're outside of the linear regression zone. So volatility algorithms or indicators were probably flashing a warning that's getting a little bit too overextended, and probably news pulled it back down. There was also bearish momentum building on the MACD histogram as well, with the double top on the RSI. So the way, probably if I have to play this, I'm probably just going to be a little bit more patient and wait for the next potential setup. And it's still in the uptrend though. So even if this crashes back all the way down $4 or $3 or even $2, somebody's going to buy this probably again. Probably. Now, in terms of a meme coin historical trend, once we hit the weekly 200 or 250-day moving average, which it did, sometimes that signals the end of that meme coin rally. So right now, I'm looking at the 4-hour zones of 583 or $5, even 550 to see, are we going to get a turnaround on the bounce? If we don't, then I'll just hands off and walk away for a while, because the last time open crashed, it had to crash about 65% to the downside before anybody got big interested. If that happens again, 50% down would be about 370 to about 250. So somewhere maybe 320, somewhere right there is a 618. That makes sense to me. So I have an alert set up in case we have a bigger crash. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Hope you like this video. Again, if you like this video, click like, click subscribe, hit the notification bell. Remember, let's manage risk and execute our strategies. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Actually, before we end, let's do the weekly watch list quickly. So today is Monday, it's Monday, September 8th, 2025. Now, the upcoming releases, this week's stocks: Oracle, GameStop, Chewy, Adobe, Kroger, and RH. Economic data that's important is CPI, PPI, core CPI, core PPI, unemployment claims, consumer sentiment, and inflation expectations. There's going to be news probably about mortgage rates. I saw that today. Recent news, USA Supreme Court could possibly reverse some recent Trump tariffs regarding the Postal Service import tariff changes. Now, some of these new tariffs are going to be, I'm going to say, transferred to a different authority because the Supreme Court kind of blocked it a little bit. So, in a nutshell, summary, these tariffs might come later in some form. Gold, some critical minerals, pharmaceutical products. Treasury Secretary Bassett publicly names 3 top candidates to replace Chair Powell publicly. So they're really pushing for that. And a Supreme Court Chief Justice allowed President Trump to temporarily oust a Democratic member of the FTC. Now, crypto news, Tron founder launched USDD stablecoin on Ethereum network. And if I read that news correctly, it could be 12% APY interest. That's interesting. That's interesting to me. Trying to compete against Tether. And Grayscale Corporation filed for their Link ETF, Chainlink. Now, chart events, like I said, at the beginning of the stream, Bitcoin USD, daily inverse head and shoulders, and its potential bullish momentum. We need a lot of people in the world to buy crypto and altcoins right now. Now, many altcoins have price correlations with Bitcoin. It's not 100%, but right now it looks like it's probably greater than 50%. Most of the major altcoins are having price correlations. And the setups that I talked about 1 to 2 weeks ago are finally executing now. We're seeing a lot of green in the crypto market. Okay, thank you everybody for watching. See you next time.